5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition, liftoff, Semper Fi, aim high.
Here with reaction, Donald Trump Jr. All right, a lot to digest. 4 major arguments in my mind. 1, it's unconstitutional. 2, the snap impeachment was made before we found out that the whole thing had been pre-planned in advance. 3, the insurrectionist language of the left, which I kind of think is a big deal, and we can get to more. Your thoughts?
Well, Sean, if it wasn't for double standards, the Democrats would have no standards at all. I mean, I think in your monologue, you sort of highlighted all of the hypocrisy that we saw during 10 months of rioting, looting, arson, in-your-face type of politics. Candidly, whatever my father said on January 6th was mild in comparison. But if you were to take his speech and compare it to literally any stump speech ever given in the history of politics, you would see absolutely no deviation. But again, because the Democrats have the media in their pocket, carrying whatever message, they can go on with impeachment part 2, what they started before the original inauguration. They're just going to continue it. They're all excited to be able to grandstand, to be able to selectively edit, to do their faux outrage on a global scale with TV and free airtime. That's what this is all about. And I think that's the way we have to counter that. We have to do the same things. We have to fight back the way the Democrats fight. And I don't mean physically, because in today's world, if you say the word fight, all of a sudden, magically, that means an insurrection. Give me a break, Sean. This stuff is asinine. 44 Republicans have already voted to say that the sham impeachment part 2 is unconstitutional. Aren't we in the middle of a pandemic, Sean? I thought that these senators would maybe have something better to do. Maybe they would actually fight for the American people for a change. Maybe they would actually get to the business of helping us through this pandemic. I don't see that happening, and I certainly don't see it happening from the Biden administration, who's killing American jobs, defending China, eliminating the ban of the Confucius Institute, which is China taking over our universities, and ultimately bribing our professors to get, all the data that you have out of the research projects in American universities. I mean, you're opening the border. You have to test people coming in legally to the country for COVID-19, but illegal immigrants streaming across the border, there's no test. They just get released into society. The double standards are insane, and maybe the United States Senate should be focused on that rather than their nonsense.
You know, I know that there are there are going to be 2 8-hour days available for both the case they want to put on. I don't know what they could possibly say except slice, dice, selectively edit. Oh, look at this, but let's take out when Donald Trump said to march peacefully and patriotically. We'll take that part out.
Yeah.
To me,
minor detail, Sean.
It's a minor detail. Yeah, it's called a fact. Yeah, it's actually called real words that they didn't want. That's inconvenient for their argument. But it's not inconvenient, their insurrectionist language, Don Jr., is it? It's not to them. Then all of the ones I played and many more, I could go on all night, they would be guilty based on their own standard. And yet the media is only on one side. That's sad.
Correct. And more importantly, the Republicans are also, and rightfully so. I don't think we should be impeaching everyone in the Democrat caucus who said ridiculous things are, frankly, much more inflammatory than anything that Donald Trump said. I'm not about that. Although, if they're going to pursue these things, Republicans have to stop trying to play the game differently. We got to play hardball if they're playing hardball. We've been playing t-ball for generations while the Democrats have played hardball. We've turned the other cheek as they've slapped us in the face and laughed as they've won every major fight along the way while we claim some sort of moral high ground and losing everything. That's what Donald Trump showed the Republican Party, that you can push back, that you don't have to go with their norms, that you don't have to listen to the media when they're just flagrantly putting out nonsense. You can actually push back, and I hope that the Republican Party does that. If they go back to the old ways of just rolling over and dying each and every time someone in the media wants to write a mean piece about them because they can't stand them or their constituents or Donald Trump's 75 million people that voted for him in this country, the highest of any conservative in the history of America, there's no future for the party. So they better learn from that. And as much as I despise the notion of it, we have to be playing the same game. So we got to come out aggressively. We got to pursue those kind of ideas if they're going to do it. It's the same with cancel culture. Notice that only goes one way. I'm not for cancel culture, but if they're going to use it against us, against half of the country on a daily basis, and use it to get rid of people, to suppress them, to bully them, and it's bullying in so many cases. If they come after me, it's one thing. I got a platform. I'm a big boy. When they go after some of these people that don't have any platform, they try to attack them, as CNN has done with random people who post something on Facebook. That kind of bullying has to stop, and we have to push back accordingly.
Hey, Don, look it's cancel culture. Oh, are you or have you ever been a supporter of Donald Trump? Re-education camps. They won't hire people that serve their country in the White House. Oh, Don Jr. might buy a house in the neighborhood. Oh, I get the vapors. Oh, the feigned outrage. It is the sickest it's ever been. Ever.
It really is. I mean, it's McCarthyism on steroids. I mean, think about it this way. I mean, they're doing this across the board, but even within the military, if you have conservative leanings, we're going to be purged. Well, I don't know. I called a couple of friends, of mine, in the SEAL teams. How many guys do you think would lean left in the teams? They go about maybe 1%, and they'd be really, really moderate on just about everything. So this notion of purging conservatives from the military what are they protecting? I mean, these people have to represent Americans. This is half of the country that they're talking about, trying to cancel, trying to suppress. And guess what? This is the kind of treatment and behavior that created the rise of Donald Trump. And I think we're going to see that pushback in midterms. Because as always, the Democrats are overplaying their hand. They don't get it because they live in their little echo chambers. And I understand the irony of the son of a billionaire from Manhattan having a better pulse of the American people than the people chosen by those people to represent them in Congress. But the Congress is clueless. The Democrats in Congress have no idea what's going on because they have their lackeys in the media telling them they're right about all of their nonsensical attacks.
All right. Why don't you go to Congress and argue with David Schoen? You'd be the perfect guy. All right. Don Jr., thank you. All right.
Merci d'avoir regardé la vidéo. Si vous l'avez aimé, mettez un pouce. Et si vous voulez faire partie de la famille cosmique, abonnez-vous. Si vous désirez nous soutenir pour notre travail, vous pouvez trouver le lien Tipeee en description. Merci, à bientôt. Bisous.